The Last of Us 2 is a masterclass in how to take a steaming dump on one of the most beloved stories in gaming history. The thing is, anyone with even 2 functional brain cells knows how insanely good The Last of Us was. The game at least. I'll discuss why Season 1 didn't hit the mark in just a bit. Now, don't worry, I'm not gonna make a 57-minute video essay on how great the game was. I'll just skip straight to the rotting corpse that is The Last of Us 2. I won't talk about the graphics and the gameplay. We all know it's the only thing holding this mess together with the duct tape. We're just gonna focus more on the characters and the story because that's where things went completely off the rails. And yes, there will be spoilers. There's also video chapters for easy viewing. Anyways, without further ado, let's just dive in.
The story's about hate and how we use all those same things to make the player feel that.
Right off the bat, I'll say this. I don't hate this juiced up door frame, I just find her repulsive to look at. And I don't even hate that Joel died either. But it could have been handled in a better way. The acting, the visuals, and the overall quality of this game is just phenomenal. This game could have been one of the greatest games ever made, and that's why I just hate this guy. Revisiting The Last of Us Part 2 made me realize that this game doesn't make you feel hate. It only makes you feel exhaustion and frustration. The game tries so hard to make every character morally gray that everything becomes, well, kinda gray. Like, there is no contrast between anyone, and this is not how it goes in the real world. Yes, there's good and bad in every human on a basic level, but there are some people who are good, some who are bad, and some are a bit of both. A game that captures this perfectly is Red Dead Redemption 2. On a core philosophical level, both games tackle similar themes. The cycle of violence and survival. Also, another thing both of these games did was introduce a new protagonist. Only Rockstar didn't lie and manipulate fans through trailers. They straight up told the fans that you play as Arthur Morgan. That's that. The players whined at first but then fell in love with Arthur. Because instead of wasting time in lying and manipulating fans, Rockstar focused on actually making Arthur matter. And look, the Wild West setting isn't even my thing. I hadn't played Red Dead Redemption 1, and I was under the impression that it's just another Grand Theft Auto game with horses. And boy, I was wrong. In RDR2, we see the last of the outlaws who are trying to survive in a world that is closing in on them. We meet Arthur Morgan. He's a troubled man but inherently a good man. All he knows is violence, murder, robbing, and loyalty to the gang that raised him. His sense of responsibility and loyalty is what drives his actions. The game also gives the player some choice in how the story unfolds, something that The Last of Us does not do, and I'll get into that. Anyways, the characters we meet along the way, well, they made me feel something. I loved Arthur, Jose, Charles,
Lumbago,
and even Dutch, at least at the beginning. These characters were wholesome, well-written, and meaningful. Every one of them had an arc, their bond with Arthur, the theme of family and loyalty. Like, I have no words to explain how impactful that was. Then there's Micah, and I can't remember hating any character this much. I literally felt so much hate and anger, and every time this guy appeared on the screen, I was like,
I'll open you up, I'll tear out your organs, and string a bloody loop with it.
Now, coming back to The Last of Us 2.
The story's about hate.
Well, congratulations, you got what you wanted. You made your audience hate the game, hate you, hate the characters, and even the actors who play them. But for me personally, the game is just like, there. Like, okay, whatever. Anyways, let's talk about the characters in The Last of Us 2. Ellie, she's violent, gay, and insufferable. Abby, she's violent, insufferable, and her voice doesn't suit her body.
I'm a god boy.
Dina, she's pregnant and only exists to check off the gay love story box, because God forbid we don't have a gay love story. Ball gender confusion kid over here contributes absolutely nothing to the story except reminding you every 15 minutes that they are trans, which is honestly hilarious because if you're running from zombies and death squads and fighting for scraps of food in a post-apocalyptic hell, your pronouns are the last thing you would worry about. Also, they exist only to mirror Joel and Ellie dynamic to manipulate the player into somehow liking Abby. It does not work. Anyways, sperm donor over here only exists to knock up Dina and die, so Ellie and Dina can raise a half Asian, half Jewish gay baby because to no surprise, 2 women can't procreate. Then there are Abby's friends, and no one gives a shit about them, and literally each and everyone here is depressed and miserable, and that's about it. I'll discuss how the show makes it even more depressing in just a bit. Anyways, 9 out of 10 for diversity. The only thing missing was a bald black chick. Okay, never mind. 10 out of 10.
we would not do this if we didn't feel like we had the right idea. And the part 2 is really kind of doubling down on that, to say we believe in this so much, and all I ask is the fans of the first ones, put some faith in us, trust us, we're going to do right by you.
Just imagine if John Wick killed everyone but the guy who killed his dog. And the second half of the movie was a flashback about why that guy killed John Wick's dog. Yeah, that's pretty much the plot of Last of Us 2. Now the thing is, Joel and Ellie were the heart and soul of the story, but what you need to understand is Ellie was never the main protagonist of the game. It was always Joel. It was Joel's story. Ellie was a supporting character and we all loved her in the role of Joel's surrogate daughter. Now imagine if in the next God of War game they kill off Kratos in the first hour and then make you play as Atreus. That's why The Last of Us 2 doesn't work. I won't even go into the lazy writing or how everyone makes dumb and out of character choices, like Joel just casually walking into a base of heavily armed strangers. Now, people defend this by saying like his time at Jackson made him soft. Apparently it also made him an idiot. That's not softness. That's just stupidity. And I get it. They want to make their world real and grounded where anyone can die at any moment. But this is not the case here. Neil Druckmann wanted to make the story about girl bosses, and that wouldn't be possible with Joel hanging around, so he had to go. In doing so, the writers invited hate, and when they actually saw the hate, they accused the fans of being narrow-minded, bigoted, misogynistic, and homophobic. Anyways, now Majin Buu here, Ellie, is the main character, and you would think that they would at least make her likable, right? Right? Nope. She's your average annoying teenager. And then there's a second main character. No matter how much you try to manipulate me by humanizing this, whatever this is, it's not gonna happen. And the worst part is you're forced to play as her half the game. Imagine playing as Micah for 60 hours and then you're forced to fight Arthur as the final boss. Anyways, for some reason, Abby breaks the cycle of violence and lets Ellie, Dina, and Tommy live. Yeah, she's the good guy. And the game kinda ends there, but wait, cause there's a third act. Ellie now has PTSD, and with little to no persuasion, she decides to abandon her peaceful life behind for another revenge quest. She murders like 2,000 people, tracks down Abby who's already dying, beats her to a pulp, and then lets her go because, well, revenge is bad. And the reward she gets for breaking the cycle of violence again is that Dina leaves her. She's left alone with 2 fingers missing. Was this supposed to be a bittersweet ending? It's not even an ending, for God's sake. That's not depth. There is no quote-unquote deep philosophical message. And the worst part is you are forced to do things that you don't want to do. The player has no choice in any of this. This is just emotional abuse in the form of a video game. There's a constant atmosphere of darkness and hate. There's hardly 1 or 2 moments that kind of make you smile. Other than that, you're pretty much frustrated. The only thing I felt after experiencing this game was just emptiness. This guy hates men, and he makes it abundantly clear in the show. Shitbeard Joel here is the proof of this. Now, I like Pedro. He's a good actor, but he is not Joel. Game Joel was a badass, hardened old man who would absolutely annihilate anyone dumb enough to cross him. Show Joel is just a pussified version of the game Joel. It feels like he'll break down and start crying at any moment, which he actually does in the season 2, but we don't talk about that. You don't get the sense of danger from him or that Ellie is actually safe around him. He's portrayed as old, weak, and pathetic, and honestly, this Joel wouldn't survive 2 months in the apocalypse, let alone 20 years. And of course, this was all intentional. Neil Druckmann had already decided what was gonna happen in season 2, so they had to make Joel look weak from the start. Gotta make room for the girl bosses. The guy didn't want to tell a grounded story. He just wanted to preach his ideologies and agendas. Season 1 episode 3 is a proof of that. In the game, there's a dynamic between Joel, Ellie, and Bill. It was a great mix of humor, tension, and a great action set piece. Bill was a grumpy badass, and it was subtly hinted that he was gay. Cool, no problem. But instead of revisiting that in the show, they focused on Bill being gay. And the entire episode is about Bill making out with a dude and crying about strawberries. Meanwhile, Joel and Ellie are basically background characters in their own show. And by the final episode, it's like Joel just kind of zones out and kills all the fireflies on autopilot. In the game, that ending was brutal and personal. Joel was calculating and vicious, willing to destroy everything to save Ellie. In the season, it's like, well, that just happened. And with season 2, oh boy, that's where things really fall apart. The only thing that the game had going for it was the gameplay. Even if you hated the story, the game was still fun and looked absolutely stunning. That's not the case here, cause with a TV show you're completely at the mercy of the writing and the story. And now we're left with Swoleface and Dina to carry the show here, and they're not very interesting characters. Also, the love story and the flirting between these two is just really forced and embarrassing. Like there's no chemistry. Majin Buu doesn't have the acting skills or the charisma to lead a show. Anyways, I've had enough. I won't be watching this.
I'm gonna be a dad.
Personally, I think The Last of Us should have been left alone. There should have never been a sequel, but since we already got it, here's how the story could have gone. Still sticking to the same themes of cycle of violence, survival, and hate. In this alternate universe, the doctor that Joel killed had a son. Let's just call him Jason. Jason finds his dad's dead body, and obviously he swears vengeance, but he's surrounded by people who are not miserable. They convince him to not waste his life on revenge, but do what his father couldn't, make a cure. So now Jason and his friends decide to find Ellie. They track her down and kidnap her. Joel snaps when he finds out Ellie has been taken. We now see things from Joel's perspective. He's deranged and will stop at nothing to find Ellie. Meanwhile, Jason and his group are heading toward, well, let's say Minnesota. There's a doctor who might be able to make a vaccine, but on the way their convoy gets ambushed, shit goes sideways, a lot of them die, some get scattered. Jason and Ellie end up being stuck together. At first, obviously they hate each other, but they're forced to work together to survive the scars and the infected. And naturally, over time, Jason opens up to Ellie about his father, and she opens up to him about how she always wanted to make the cure. They start to understand each other, and they grow close, and a bond develops. Eventually, they make it to Minnesota, and obviously Ellie decides to go through with the procedure even though there is no guarantee for a cure. This is also very heartbreaking for Jason. Anyways, before the surgery, she writes a letter for Joel and hands it to Jason. She sacrifices herself and a vaccine is created. However, there is no way to find out even if it works. Now, cut back to Joel. He's really close, but he doesn't know what's happened. He's relentlessly trying to find Ellie. And just as he reaches the facility, he runs into a horde of infected. And just as all hope seems lost, Jason's team arrive there to save him. But Joel gets bit. The team brings Joel up to the facility. Here, Jason decides to test the vaccine on Joel. Even though he's conflicted, he wants to save him, because he knows that Ellie loved Joel as a father figure and his own father would do the same. After a few days, Joel wakes up, chained to a bed, and Jason is standing there. Joel asks, "Where is Ellie?" and suddenly remembers he was bit, but he has not turned, and it dawns on him what has happened. Jason doesn't say a word, just hands him Ellie's letter and walks away. On his way out, he orders a team member that once Joel gets better, send him on his way. Joel reads Ellie's letter and he just goes silent. A few days later, we see Joel leaving the facility and wanders off into the unknown. The end. No girl bosses, no muscle mommies, no forced agendas, and no nonsense. Joel loses what he loved the most, Ellie gets to do what she always wanted, and Jason breaks the cycle of violence. Only a few characters we would care about, and a story that actually goes somewhere. And please don't hate me, I just came up with this on the fly. I don't have a team of writers backing me up. But if you think this story had potential, just imagine what the pros could have done if they actually focused on the narrative instead of diversity. Anyways, thanks for watching. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you liked the video. And do let me know in the comments what you think about The Last of Us games. Until next time, take care.
You just come after her.